name is Ben Wintner, and I'm the managing principal for Michael Graves Design, which is the product design and research side of Michael Graves Architecture Design.
Awesome. And it's interesting because having Michael Graves as a whole is part of the original, correct? Like both sides.
Yeah.
So that's it's interesting that design firms more on the architectural, interior design side would also be part of something like this. So as a practitioner, what do you see as the importance of original design?
Well, I mean, it's kind of everything that we do. From our perspective, we have a very diverse practice. We do architecture, master planning, interior design, and product design, graphic design, branding, design research. And the clients who come to us really are looking for original design. We don't necessarily have expertise or specialize in a certain sector. It's a very diverse practice. But our projects and our clients have in common is wanting something original, a unique solution to their problem, their situation. And I think that is the best of what design can do. And doing it in an original way is, it's hard. It takes time, it takes a lot of thoughtfulness, and people should be able to devote that time and then in some ways reap the rewards of it. And that's why when we learned about the original Americas, it resonated with us really immediately on both sides of the practice. Michael, our founder, was very interested in designing the entire environment. So for us, and many of our projects, we got to design the master plan and the architecture and the interiors, and then custom products and lighting, furniture within the interiors. But even if we are, that's what clients, I think, come to us for. And it is a kind of almost a custom experience for that client, for that project. But I think even if we are not in a position to design all of the objects within the space, because we do design objects and do design furniture and lighting on our own, we're sensitive to the clients, the manufacturers, the designers who design the other pieces. So if we are designing a space, our interiors team, we're very cognizant of the client's budget. It also does vary geographically. From our experience, our American clients don't have to be as concerned about substitutions, but when we work in the Middle East or Northern Africa or in Asia, we have to be more aware. And I think that's part of the understanding and the expertise of our interiors group is knowing the budget, knowing the inclination of the client, and then specifying appropriate products. It may not be your first choice necessarily, but if there's a likelihood of it ending up as a knockoff, or then you should find the piece that works for that client situation. I think that is so much of what design is solving the problems that your clients are facing. That's a big part of it.
All right, great. And it's interesting because Michael Graves Architecture and Design also has that experience of having created an affordable brand like the Target lines that were then knocked off. Where it's even because so often we talk about the Eames chair gets brought up a lot. And it's okay, yeah, not everyone can afford an original Eames chair. But then when you have design that is affordable, that did come down to the masses, and it's still being knocked off, that's a unique problem. And how does Michael Graves Architecture and Design handle those types of issues?
Well, it's funny. We've had to become very pragmatic about it and design a new one. And that's really the truth. When we were designing 200 products a year at Target, you kind of knew that once it came out, someone was going to knock it off, whether it was sometimes it's even the factory that makes it. So you have to always be ahead of that and thinking of the new idea. And it's one of those situations where you may wish it wasn't the case, but the benefits of the Target relationship and the impact it's had on people's appreciation for design, I think is absolutely worth it. And but we certainly haven't gotten necessarily the lifespan out of the product. But I think from in this case from Target's perspective, part of the role that we played at Target was for people to come back to see what was new. So when you sort of understood that was part of the strategy to continue to refresh, it was just sort of part of it. But it is funny, we would find tea kettles where we call them the Frankenstein kettles, where they would take all of our parts, the body of one with the spout of another, the whistle of a third, and the handle of a fourth, and they would put them together. And we would find those in some of the lower retailers, and you kind of do what you can to stop it and shake your head and wish there was more organizations like the Originals America to protect us.
And what has been the role of the Original Americas in kind of Michael Graves Architecture Design's plan for handling things, or for how you now maybe approach projects? Has there been any change?
Well, I think for our clients, our members as well, so Leslie and some of the other manufacturers, so they really have the responsibility and the interest to protect the actual counterfeits and the knockoffs. I think from our interiors group, as I said before, they're really cognizant of the effort it takes to design a product, and so respectful of it. So if we don't get to design a product for a commission, that we are going to specify the product that makes the most sense for the client, because we don't want to see something that looks like, feels like. It's funny, but I think the real key is the difference between inspiration and knockoff. And Michael was famous for talking about the inspiration he took from Joseph Hoffman and Bauhaus. It's one thing to be inspired, and that's great. That's what we should all do as designers. But making sure that people sort of understand the line of where you are going from inspiration to knockoff is, I think, the big problem, and something that I think more people within the industry, especially people as they're growing up within the industry, get a real clear sense. And I think as this organization matures, I think that will become one of its real lasting legacies.
And around that idea, what would you say is the difference between inspiration and knockoffs? Because I speak at a lot of universities and work with a lot of students who then I see something and they say, well, it was inspired, and I'm like, that is identical.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's inspired. Like, how can you define such as for college students, the difference between those two?
Yeah, well, I think maybe to give a definition, to be inspired by is understand maybe what was the intent, the objective, how an object makes you feel, and try to replicate that. A knockoff, I think part of it does come down to perception of others, and that designer may have been too close to it. She maybe saw the subtle differences that made it different in her mind. But I think if the general person off the street, or even people within the industry, see something, they have to get a sense of, it's kind of a gut feel. Is it inspired by? Is it a knockoff? Michael always talked about making something your own. Whether it was you get a design brief and the client asks for this, you have to still internalize it and make it your own, expand upon it. So I think that is really what is the difference. Did you make it your own, and would the average person understand that you made it your own?
I was speaking at a school recently, and I told them, there's too much technology. If you took a picture of your product and you put it into reverse image search on Google, will it find something? Like, you guys have the easiest way to cross-reference your stuff these days. Like, if Google thinks what you made is someone else's, maybe it's not yours.
Yeah, absolutely, and that should never happen.
Yeah.
But it makes me think, like, I know today, bringing up technology and students, there's technology you can use for, you know, if you turn in an essay, they can review it to see if you've plagiarized, yeah. And that, I guess, is kind of pretty simple in terms of, are the words the same? And, you know, I'm sure there's sophisticated algorithms that can understand the geometries and are they the same? But I think in a lot of ways for design, it comes down to the details and subtle differences. And, you know, it has to be, I think, just get to a common understanding. And people need to err on the side of, it's too close. If it isn't, then take pride in, you want to express yourself. And if someone else is going to think it is too close to something else, then you probably haven't fully expressed yourself.
I like that. Design as expression of self. I feel like when people get away from that, it's because they feel rushed or they feel too constrained.
Or not constrained enough. Because I think that's one of the biggest myths, is give designers blue sky.
Yeah.
Well, I think actually the tighter the constraint, the easier it is to be creative because it forces you to be. If you have the whole world as your sandbox, it can be hard to sort of make your statement.
Great. And then how do you deal with clients who don't have the budget for original, or they ask for something to be made just like a product that already exists?
Yeah, I mean, you just simply can't do it, and you have to understand the budget and present a design that complies with the budget, that works. And when we talk about design, it's really about solving problems. And that can be an aesthetic situation or a functional situation or a price situation or a whole multitude of areas of a problem that you're trying to solve. And if you aren't finding a solution that fits within the budget, you're not finding a good solution. And I think designers who really care, that's part of the challenge. And they don't want to cut corners like that. But it's hard because as the architect or the interior designer, you prepare a specification, but the general contractor or purchasing agent can find something equivalent. So it is in some ways out of your control. You can control what you specify, but after that, you can be as surprised and as disappointed as anyone. I think that's one of the important things when we talk about, it's this architect's project or that interior group's project. It's really the client's project. And you can find yourself in a situation where you are as disappointed in the execution as any. And it's just part of it.
And is there anything I haven't asked that you believe people should know about Be Original Americas or about original design?
Yeah, well, I think that design, everything is designed. So the key is good design and understanding the value of investing in original design. That's what we do every day. We're always looking for enlightened clients who understand that. And I think as this organization grows and more people understand the value of design, they can understand it as a strategic differentiation. When we first started working with Target, sort of the executive visionary of the program was a guy named Ron Johnson. After Target, he went on to Apple fame. But he sort of asked, why is it that these small Italian companies like Alessi are innovating with design? While we're Target, we have 900 stores, access to factories all over the world. Why can't we be the innovators? And being able to do that at lower price points because of the economies of scale could have a huge impact. And with that, we've seen design become more of a core element of corporate strategy. And I think that can only continue to help the world, improve people's lives. I mean, in the end, that's what it all matters, is how do people go about their lives, how can the spaces and the objects that they use make their lives better. And I hope that as this organization grows and the awareness of design in America and across the world becomes better known, that the world will continue to get better.
All right, great, thank you.